Alright, so the 1st of July is less than a week away. And if you are an older Australian, whether you are on the age pension, receiving home care, or you have got money in superannuation, there are some significant changes coming that kick in on that date that you need to know about right now, before they happen. Because here is the thing. Most people find out about these changes after they have already taken effect. By then it is too late to prepare. So today I want to walk you through every single change that is coming on the 1st of July, what helps you, what hurts you, and exactly what you should be doing this week before that date arrives. Let's start with something that is genuinely good news for a lot of families. From the 1st of July, the government is placing official price caps on all supported home services. Now, if you're not familiar with Support at Home, it replaced the old home care packages program back in November last year. Under that new system, providers set their own prices for services like cleaning, personal care, transport, nursing support, and so on. And what happened pretty quickly is that some providers started charging significantly more than others for the same services, and families had no easy way to compare or know whether they were being overcharged. From today, that changes. Price caps are now in place across all service categories. Providers must also publish their full price lists publicly. So for the first time, you can actually sit down and compare what different providers are charging for the same service before you sign anything. That transparency alone is a meaningful step forward for older Australians and their families who've been trying to navigate a confusing system. If you're currently receiving supported home services, it's worth checking your next statement carefully to see whether your costs change under the new caps. For some people, the cap may actually bring their costs down. Now, this next change won't affect the majority of pensioners, but it will affect a specific group of retirees, and it's been one of the most argued about policy changes in the superannuation space for the past couple of years. From the 1st of July, if you have more than $3 million in superannuation, the tax treatment of your earnings changes. The portion of your earnings that relates to the balance above $3 million will now be taxed at 15% rather than the concessional rate that previously applied. And for anyone with $10 million or more in super, there's an additional 10% tax on top of that, applied the same way. Now, I want to be honest about who this actually affects. We are not talking about the average age pensioner. We are talking about a relatively small number of Australians who have accumulated very large super balances, often through strategies that were perfectly legal but that the government has decided are no longer warranted from a tax concession perspective. What I do think is worth noting is that age pension recipients are explicitly protected here. If you receive the age pension, you are exempt from the 30% minimum tax on capital gains that is also being introduced today. So that particular change does not apply to you. Now, here's the part that directly affects the largest number of people watching this channel. From today, both the lower and upper thresholds for the age pension assets test have increased. For homeowners, the lower threshold, the amount you can have in assets and still receive the full pension, is now $333,000 for singles and $499,000 for couples combined. For non-homeowners, those numbers are $600,000 for singles and $766,000 for couples. The income test-free area has also gone up. Singles can now earn up to $226 per fortnight before the pension starts reducing. For couples, it's $396 combined. What this means practically is that some people, who were just over the old limits, and were either getting a reduced pension or no pension at all, may now find themselves back in entitlement. If that's you, it's absolutely worth contacting Centrelink or checking through your MyGov account to see whether your situation has changed. And remember, even getting $1 of pension gets you the pensioner concession card. That card can be worth thousands of dollars a year in discounts on medicines, transport, utilities, and more. So even a very small pension entitlement has real value beyond the payment itself. There's one more change from today that I want to flag because it directly affects income-tested pensioners, and it's not getting nearly enough attention. The threshold that divides the lower and higher deeming brackets has increased. For singles it went up by $2,600. For couples it went up by $4,400. Remember, deeming is how Centrelink calculates the income it assumes you're earning from your financial assets. The lower deeming rate is 1.25%. The higher rate is 3.25%. More of your assets are now assessed at the lower rate before the higher rate kicks in. In practice, what this means is that your deemed income is slightly lower than it was before today. And when your deemed income goes down, your income test result improves. Which could mean a slightly higher pension payment if your pension is income tested. It's not a large change, but for people sitting right on the edge of a threshold, it could tip the balance in their favor. One more thing that directly hits the household budget for many seniors, and this one is not good news. The temporary fuel excise reduction that the government introduced earlier this year ends today. From the 1st of July, excise on petrol and diesel goes back to the full rate. That is an increase of 32 cents per litre, returning to normal pricing. For anyone in regional or outer suburban areas who relies on a car, and that covers a lot of older Australians, this is a real and immediate cost of living impact. If you've been paying lower prices at the pump for the past few months, expect that to change at your next fill-up. There's no concession or carve-out for pensioners on this one. It applies to everyone. So if you budget carefully week to week, it's worth factoring this into your planning now. Alright, let me bring all of this together practically. If you're on a part pension, or you missed out on the pension previously, check your MyGov account today or tomorrow. The new assets and income thresholds are now live. You might now qualify for something you didn't before. If you're receiving support at home services, ask your provider for an updated price schedule now that the caps are in place. If their prices have come down, your budget for other services may have increased. If you drive regularly and have a tight budget, rework your weekly fuel costs to account for the excise going back to normal. It may not sound like much, but 32 cents a litre adds up quickly if you're filling up regularly. And if you have questions about how any of today's changes affect your specific situation, Centrelink's dedicated line for older Australians is 132300, Monday to Friday 8 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. The 1st of July is always one of the biggest days of the year for people managing retirement finances in Australia. More changes happen on this date than almost any other day on the calendar. Some of today's changes help. Some don't. The key is knowing which ones apply to you so you can act on the ones that do. If this video helped you make sense of what's happening today, please give it a like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Senior Daily Report so you don't miss anything as these changes roll out and we start seeing their real-world impact. And drop a comment below, which of today's changes affects you the most. I'd genuinely like to know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.